Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Honestly, sometimes I feel like I need a whole new dictionary just to keep up with all this new tech jargon, AI this, AI that.
It's definitely a lot,
Yeah,
especially for, accountants who've been doing things a certain way for years, right?
exactly. It's like everyone's talking about AI, but are we really using it or is it just, a buzzword? That's what I want to get into today. We're diving into the real world ways AI is actually being used in tax practices right now.
And that's a great place to start because there's a lot of hype, sure, but seeing how this technology is being applied in the field, that's what matters, right?
Absolutely. So what's the first real world example we're looking at today?
Well, for this deep dive, we're lucky enough to have our hands on tax legalese in action, real world success stories. And it's packed with, well, real world success stories. And I thought we could start with one that I think will resonate with pretty much every accountant listening. Section 199A.
Oh, the qualified business income deduction. Don't get me started on that one.
Right. So many rules, so many thresholds to keep track of. And those are the types of things AI can really excel at.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So how does AI actually help with something like Section 199A?
So this first case study in the report, it focuses on how Tax Legalese, which is an AI tool designed specifically for tax pros, how it can cut down the time spent on those Section 199A calculations.
Cut down the time. How much time are we talking here?
Okay, so picture this. Without AI, the average accountant is spending about 2 hours, sometimes more, on those calculations for just one client.
2 hours. And that's if everything goes smoothly.
Yeah,
We're not even factoring in those complex cases with like multi-layered business structures.
exactly. But with tax legalese, that 2-hour process can be shrunk down to just 30 minutes.
Wait a minute, hold on. 30 minutes. Is that even possible? What's the catch?
There's no catch. It's really about how this AI is built. It's designed to analyze those complex rules and thresholds instantly. So instead of you poring over every detail, the AI is doing that heavy lifting for you in the background.
So it's like having a super-powered calculator that also understands the tax code.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just about speed, though. It's also about accuracy.
That's always a top priority for us, right? So it's faster A&D, more accurate. It sounds almost too good to be true.
I know, right? But that's the power of this technology. And the best part is it frees you up to focus on what you're best at, which is advising your clients.
That's a huge point because let's face it, no one likes telling their clients, give me a week to crunch the numbers on that.
Exactly. Instead, imagine being able to say, you know what? I can have that information for you by tomorrow. That's the kind of efficiency that impresses clients and builds trust.
Okay, so far so good. AI is helping us conquer Section 199A. What other accounting hurdles does this tax legalese in action report tackle?
Well, how about we move on to another fan favorite, multi-state tax returns.
Oh boy. Don't even get me started. Especially with the rise of remote work, it feels like I'm constantly playing catch up with different states' tax codes.
I hear you. And without AI, that's a recipe for some serious headaches and a lot of late nights.
Yeah, those multi-state returns are a real pain. It feels like every client is working remotely these days, which makes things so much more complicated.
It definitely adds a whole other layer of complexity, doesn't it? And that's before we even start thinking about things like reciprocity agreements and local taxes.
Oh, don't remind me. It's like the tax code equivalent of a choose-your-own-adventure novel, and I'm always worried I'll end up on the wrong page.
And the stakes are high. Even a small mistake on a multi-state return can have big consequences for your clients.
Absolutely. Okay, so how does AI step in and save the day when it comes to multi-state taxes?
So in this case study, they looked at how tax legalese handled multi-state returns. On average, accountants are spending about 4 hours on a single multi-state return.
4 hours.
Yeah.
And that's just one client. No wonder we're all feeling burnt out.
But get this, using tax legalese, that time was cut down to an hour and a half.
You're kidding. An hour and a half. Okay, now I'm really curious. How does the AI work that kind of magic?
Well, it's all about automation and having access to the right information, right? You input your client's income details, residency information, all that good stuff. And the AI takes it from there.
So it's like having an army of tax researchers working behind the scenes, except it's just this one AI tool.
Pretty much. It's analyzing those state tax rules, it's identifying any relevant reciprocity agreements, it's even suggesting the best strategies to minimize your client's overall tax burden.
So it's not just about getting the job done, it's about optimizing those returns. That's huge, especially for clients who might be living and working in high-tax states.
Exactly. And speaking of optimization, let's shift gears to another area where AI is making a big splash. retirement planning.
Oh, retirement planning. That's a topic that's near and dear to most of our clients' hearts. And to be honest, with all the different account types and contribution limits, it can be a lot to keep track of.
It definitely can be. And you don't want to give your clients cookie cutter advice, right? You want to tailor those recommendations to their specific needs and goals.
Absolutely. And that's where things can get really time consuming.
Yeah.
It's one thing to know the general rules, but it's another to actually analyze each client's situation and figure out the absolute best strategy for them.
Exactly. And that's where we see another big win for AI. Without it, the average accountant might spend an hour or more on retirement planning for just one client. But in this case study, they found that using tax legalese for this process reduced that time down to just 15 minutes.
15 minutes. That's less time than it takes me to eat lunch some days. I know we've talked about time savings before, but 15 minutes for a complex retirement planning analysis, that's incredible.
It really is remarkable how efficient this technology can be. And again, it's not just about speed, it's about making sure you're making those data-driven recommendations.
So instead of me manually comparing different scenarios and hoping I haven't missed something, this AI tool is crunching all those numbers in the background and presenting me with the best options.
You got it. And here's another thing that really jumped out at me from this case study. They found that using AI in retirement planning can actually uncover opportunities that might have been missed otherwise.
Really, so we're not just talking about doing things faster, but potentially finding better solutions for our clients.
Exactly. It's like having a second set of eyes on those numbers, but these eyes are powered by algorithms that can spot patterns and connections we might miss.
That's amazing. Okay, this is really changing my perspective on AI. It's not just about replacing us, it's about giving us these superpowers to do our jobs even better.
And speaking of superpowers, let's talk about something that every accountant dreads dealing with. The IRS.
Oh boy, you said the A word, audits. Just the word itself is enough to send chills down my spine.
I hear you. It can be incredibly stressful for both you and your clients, right?
Absolutely, and especially when you feel like you're navigating those IRS notices and requests without a map.
And the pressure of those deadlines, it's a lot. But what if I told you that AI could help alleviate some of that audit anxiety?
Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more.
Well, this next case study in the report focuses on how AI can assist with IRS audits. And what they found was pretty impressive. Using tax legalese for an audit case reduced the time spent on that case by 60%.
Wow, 60%. That's huge.
Yeah.
What are they doing differently? What's the secret sauce?
It's all about working smarter, not harder. The AI, in this case, is doing a lot of that initial heavy lifting. You input the details of the audit, your client's information, and tax legalese takes over.
So instead of me spending hours, if not days, researching and gathering documentation, this AI tool is doing that for me.
Pretty much. It's analyzing the notice, digging up the relevant tax codes, even searching for previous cases that are similar to your client's situation. It's like having a team of tax lawyers and researchers at your fingertips.
That would be a game changer. Especially when you're dealing with a tricky audit, having that kind of backup could make all the difference. Okay, so the AI is helping with research and documentation. What else is it doing during that time?
Well, it doesn't stop there. It can actually help you draft responses to the IRS. It can even pull together all the supporting documentation you'll need.
So it's like having an extra pair of hands, or maybe even an extra brain, to help navigate those audit waters. It's just really making me rethink how I approach these things.
That's the beauty of this technology, right? It's not about replacing what we do. It's about augmenting our abilities. And when it comes to estate planning, having that extra support can be invaluable.
Estate planning. Another one of those topics that can feel as predictable as, well, as taxes.
It's true, especially when you're dealing with complex estates. It's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Absolutely. And those Form 706s are no joke either. There's a reason why some accountants specialize in estate planning. It's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah.
And it's not just the forms themselves, right? It's making sure you're dotting all your I's and crossing your T's when it comes to valuations, deductions, and all those estate tax rules.
You're speaking my language. Without AI, we're talking about a solid 25 hours of work for a complex estate.
25 hours. I can feel the eye strain just thinking about it. So how does AI help us tame this estate tax beast?
Well, in this tax legalese in action report, they actually had some incredible findings on this. Using AI for estate planning in this case study reduced that 25-hour workload down to 10.
Okay, 10 hours is still a lot, but it's definitely better than 25. I'm assuming the AI isn't just magically making assets disappear to reduce the tax burden, so what's the secret?
No magic required. It's really about leveraging AI to handle those repetitive, time-consuming tasks, right? So instead of you spending hours valuing each individual asset, researching deduction limits, the AI is doing that heavy lifting for you.
So it's like having a team of estate planning experts working alongside you, except it's all consolidated into this one AI tool.
You've got it. And remember how we talked about AI being able to spot those connections we might miss? That's especially important with estate planning.
Because one little oversight could have a ripple effect on the entire estate.
Exactly. And let's not forget about Form 706.
Oh, right. The form that's longer than some novels I've read.
And just as complicated. But even with something as detailed as Form 706, AI can lend a helping hand.
So it's checking our work, making sure we haven't missed any crucial details or schedules.
More than that, actually. It can also ensure you're using the right codes, the right valuations, and that you're complying with both federal and state regulations. It's like having a second set of eyes, but these eyes have a photographic memory of the tax code.
Okay, that's impressive. But you know what? I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface of all the ways AI is impacting accounting. There's so much more to explore.
You're absolutely right. We still haven't touched on things like S corporations and those reasonable compensation conundrums.
Oh, right. Trying to figure out what's justifiable to the IRS can feel like a guessing game sometimes.
And it's a game you don't want to lose. The average accountant without AI is spending about 3 hours per S-Corp client on reasonable compensation analysis.
3 hours. And that's assuming everything is straightforward, which we know it rarely is.
Exactly. But with tax legalese, that 3-hour process, well, this case study found that it can be reduced to just 45 minutes.
And that's what I call efficiency. So how's AI pulling that off? Is it just throwing darts at a board of salary ranges?
Of course not. It's about data, my friend. You give tax legalese the company's financial info, the shareholder employees' roles and responsibilities, and it gets to work. It analyzes industry benchmarks, considers the company's profitability, even factors in the individual's experience, and then it provides you with, well, a reasonable and justifiable compensation range.
So instead of me digging through industry reports and trying to play salary detective, this AI tool is doing all of that for me and probably doing a much more thorough job of it.
That's the idea. And think about the peace of mind that comes with that, right? Especially if you're ever facing an audit.
Oh, absolutely. Having that data-back justification for those compensation decisions would be huge. It's like having an insurance policy against those IRS inquiries. Speaking of things that make us nervous, what about international tax? I feel like that's a whole other world of complexity.
You're telling me. Form 5471. Enough said.
I think I just got a tax code flashback.
Yeah.
But seriously, with more and more clients having international dealings, it feels like something we all need to be prepared for. What makes it so tricky?
It's a lot to keep track of. You've got different countries, different tax laws, different reporting requirements. It can be a logistical nightmare.
I bet. So how does AI bring some order to that chaos?
It simplifies things. This tax legalese in action report found that using AI for Form 5471 can cut down the preparation time from around 8 hours to just 3.
8 hours down to 3. That's a pretty dramatic difference. What's the AI doing in those extra 5 hours that we're not?
It's handling those tedious tasks, currency conversions, applying international tax treaties, ensuring everything's consistent across U.S. and foreign reporting requirements. It's like having a multilingual tax expert on your team.
That's incredible. But it's not just about speed, right? With something as complex as international tax, accuracy is key.
Absolutely. One little error could have big consequences. And that emphasis on accuracy and compliance is crucial for our next area, too, nonprofit tax compliance.
Ah, yes. Form 990, the bane of every nonprofit's existence.
Well, maybe not the bane, but it's definitely up there. It's a long, detailed form, and accuracy is crucial because of that public disclosure aspect.
Right. They're not called public charities for nothing. So how does AI lighten the load when it comes to Form 990?
This case study found that using AI can significantly reduce the time spent on Form 990 preparation. We're talking about a 58% reduction from around 12 hours down to 5.
5 hours for a Form 990. Okay, that's manageable.
Yeah.
I know a lot of nonprofits would be thrilled to hear that. What's the AI doing to make such a big difference?
It's all about automating those tedious aspects and offering real-time guidance. The AI analyzes the nonprofit's financial data, ensures everything aligns with IRS regulations, and even walks you through each section of the form.
Like having a virtual compliance officer on your team, that's got to be a huge relief for nonprofits, especially those who might not have dedicated accounting staff.
Exactly. And speaking of constantly evolving areas of tax, let's talk about one final case study: the tax implications of cryptocurrency.
Oh, cryptocurrency. Everyone's talking about it, but it feels like no one really understands it, especially when it comes to taxes.
It's definitely a brave new world out there. And without AI, trying to decipher those tax implications can feel like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded.
And probably just as frustrating, especially with clients who are trading across different platforms and racking up hundreds, if not thousands, of transactions.
And that's where AI can really make a difference. This case study found that using tax legalese for cryptocurrency tax calculations resulted in a 70% reduction in time spent on the task.
70%. Seriously. Okay, color me impressed. But how does AI even begin to untangle that web of transactions and figure out the tax implications?
Data aggregation is a big part of it. Tax legalese can connect directly to those crypto exchanges and wallets. It's like having a direct line to those transaction records. And then it uses AI to analyze those transactions, figure out your cost basis, and determine the correct tax treatment.
So it's like having a crypto tax specialist on speed dial. And probably a lot more affordable, too. This has been an eye-opening discussion, to say the least. But I think the biggest takeaway for me is that AI isn't here to replace us. It's here to empower us.
100%. It's about working smarter, not harder, and giving us the tools to do what we do best, only even better.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into AI and the future of accounting. We hope you found this exploration as enlightening as we did. Until next time, happy accounting, everyone.